Welcome to Sleepless Readings. Tonight we'll be reading a tale called Escaping from the Silly Smiles Cult.
My childhood was different. I grew up in the beautiful green meadows of Kerry, Ireland, where the grass was green, the flowers were always in bloom, and the sky maintained a beautiful azure blue every day of the year. Among the fields there was a quaint little village that was built inside old castle walls. That was my home. The people who I knew were always robust and happy, and it even felt like the livestock that was kept there was smiling. I can still recall my days where I explored the town, finding hidden little shortcuts and all sorts of nooks and crannies. When I say that we had livestock, we had livestock. We had all the traditional animals that people keep, like cows and pigs. But we also had rabbits, deer, goats and donkeys. Because of the sense of community we had, the meat from the livestock's bones and their produce was shared every evening at 6 o'clock on an immense grill. The houses were all small cottages, planted out like a copy-paste blueprint, all in neat little rows on grassy streets. It was lovely. We had full bellies and smiles, but those smiles weren't ours. The mask was everything. When you were having a bad day, you wear it. It clung to you at all times, like a sickening leech, desperate to feed off your feelings. No matter what happened, no matter how bad it got, you wore it, and you dealt with it. The people who ripped it off, it was said that they died, their real face too horrendous for anyone to bear. And they were destroyed. What is the mask? To put it simply, it is you, but happy. But something is off about it. The eyes are a little too bright. The face is a little too caked, like a middle-aged woman trying to look 20. But the smile is the weirdest thing about it. The lips are puffy and red. The edge of the mouth is curved up at a disgusting angle. And no matter what, it never changes. It never falters. It persists, through the thick and thin, never ever dropping. People say that it takes less muscles to smile than to frown. Well, I asked them to wear a twisted grin for 18 feckin' years. And all of these thoughts, about never taking it off, about being killed over it, about their repulsive facial features, they all went through my head as my own mask fell to the floor on my 18th birthday. Everyone saw. And their masks never changed as they chased me through the village. Every time I looked back I saw their faces, all the exact same texture and smile, and all with the same intent to destroy me. No shrieking, no calls from my head, just footsteps while they ran just barely behind me. I don't know how long it took for me to lose them, but I did. A head and sewer grate made sure of that. I stood there, catching my breath for what felt like hours. I didn't know if they were going to find out how I got away, so I was going to have to keep moving. I ventured for what felt like hours into the sewers, the filthy water sloshing around my feet as I wandered onwards. I felt like there was nowhere to go and I had no way out, until I met Annabelle. We didn't get off to the best start, as she initially thought I was there to bring her back to the cult, but once she saw my face she realised that that was not the case. She had been trapped down here for literal years, and her grimy mug showed it. Instead of the makeup that the people above had, she wore a kisser covered in slime and sweat. She survived by stealing the livestock above and using it for food, and by breaking into people's homes with a key that she picked up. She had made a map of the sewers and was plotting an escape, but wasn't fully prepared. Over the next few months we planned on how to get out of this place, and eventually decided that on 6 o'clock, when everyone was at the dinner, we'd escape through the nearest exit to the gates and run. After days of figuring out when that time was exactly, we made our escape. Everything started out smoothly, with just a few slips on the ladder up to the grate, but we got out, using Annabelle's key to open the lock. We were above, this dangerous place we didn't need to be at. We bolted for the gate, or exit. This was it. We were finally going to be free, to live whatever a normal life was. If there weren't guards on the other side of it. They dragged us, kicking and screaming back to the village. Into a dungeon, they bound us to a chair. and what happened after was the worst 10 minutes of my life. In strode a man, towering over us, a human tree with branches that swung next to his knees, donning the very same revolting mask that everyone wore. He looked at me and looked at Annabelle. He shuffled over to her and kept looking at her. At this point, I couldn't see his face. She started laughing. When I say laughing, I mean full-on tears rolling down her cheeks, mouth wide open, eyes crinkled to the maximum degree laughing. I'd say she'd be rolling on the floor if she wasn't bound to a chair, except she didn't stop. She kept laughing, her cheeks turning red and then purple as she ran out of breath, but still laughing. Still the same tune rang out through the room. She started to cough up blood, but she was still laughing. She didn't stop. I watched my friend laugh herself to death. But during those few minutes while she was suffocated, she managed to open the sole of her boot with her seat and slide something towards me. The key. I picked it up with my feet and slid it into the lock. It worked. Thank bejeebus, because as I stood up and started to run out of the dungeon, I heard Annabelle's laugh falter and eventually become silent. I cannot describe how fast I sprinted to the entrance. I don't even know what possessed me, but the speed that I achieved through that run was shockingly fast. I ran past the guards and literally sprinted for what must have been miles, until I stumbled across a new village. One where the look on their faces was real. I'm living a comfortable life now. I have a job as a personal trainer in Dublin, and I have a lovely wife. I find it funny when people say that they feel like they have to hide their true selves from people. I mean, I could almost die laughing at it.
Thank you for listening. That was Escaping from the Silly Smiles Cult. If you enjoyed that, I'd appreciate you liking the video. It does help to boost the channel. And why not consider subscribing for more? I release new stories every Sunday. And, as always, stay sleepless.